Good morning from Bear Country, California. I'm Dr. Caroline Heldman, and here are your headlines for the first week of August 2021. First headline, the Biden administration earlier this week on Tuesday imposed a new 60-day federal moratorium on evictions in areas of the country that have been ravaged by the Delta variant. This means that we have another 60 days before tens of thousands of Americans are evicted from their homes. The regions that are covered by the Delta variant are about 90% of the country. So what does this mean? A little backstory here. First up, the Supreme Court actually ruled that the previous eviction ban passed by the Biden administration had overstepped the power of the executive branch. So a little bit of context, different branches of government manage different things and have different types of authority when it comes to public policy. The Supreme Court ruled that the executive branch did not have the authority to put in an eviction ban and said that Congress needed to act because they make the laws of the land. Well, Nancy Pelosi attempted to extend the eviction ban, but she was unable to get Democrats and Republicans, enough of them on board to do so. And so the Biden administration stepped in and passed a new ban. So they're playing chicken with the Supreme Court. To break it down, the Supreme Court said, look, you can't do this. You need Congress to do this. And the executive branch said, hey, we're going to do it again, but slightly different. We're just going to talk about parts of the country affected by the Delta variant. That makes it different than the ban that you just struck, the ruling that you just said we couldn't make on our own. So this is essentially a way to buy time for Congress to act. What is unique about what happened in the past couple of days is that Representative Cori Bush from St. Louis, Missouri. She's a first Frosh member of Congress and also the newest member of what is being called the Squad, so young progressive women of color in Congress who are really pushing the envelope. Cori Bush took her sleeping bag, her orange sleeping bag, and went to the steps of Congress when the eviction ban expired in order to protest it. This is a person who has been actively involved in community organizing for decades. She's been evicted 3 times, most recently for her protest activities in Ferguson. She went home after a night of protest, and her neighbors were concerned that she would somehow bring the protest activity home. Doesn't really make any sense, but suffice it to say, this is a person who has experienced eviction. She's experienced hardship, and she's a community organizer. So she did something highly unusual, went to the steps of the Capitol. She attracted a lot of supporters, mostly other women of color, Ariana Presley, who are in Congress, AOC, but also Bernie Sanders, Jesse Jackson. So she garnered a lot of media attention. A lot of folks on the left and the right were mocking her and saying, hey, this isn't actually how Congress and legislation works. She proved them wrong. She put pressure on the Biden administration, and they were able to scrounge up a legal approach that would buy more time to get Congress to act. So they have about 60 days to act. The Supreme Court probably won't act within that amount of time. So Nancy Pelosi has her work cut out for her. Second big headline, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has been asked to resign by basically everybody from his party after a 5-month investigation from the New York Attorney General's office found ample evidence of sexual harassment. Now, recall that Cuomo, when the allegations first started to come public, he said, no, let the investigation run its course. Well, now it has. Letitia James, who is the New York Attorney General, conducted 179 interviews, poured over tens of thousands of pages of documents, text messages, emails, exchanges, and found ample evidence that he sexually harassed 11 women. The report documents a pattern of unwanted groping, kissing, and hugging, some of which may rise to the occasion of a criminal complaint. And what is so stunning about this report is not just Governor Cuomo's behavior over the years, but it's the behavior of officials around him, enablers, handlers, who not only covered it up, but enabled it to happen. He is hiding behind this whole cancel culture. Oh, I've done this for decades. But what he is doing behind closed doors is illegal, and sometimes what he's doing in public is illegal. You need to bring your best self to work. You don't get to bring your gropey, kissy, non-consensual self to work. It's actually illegal. It's also illegal in a private setting, but it's especially illegal in that it is covered under workplace harassment laws. in the workplace. Pelosi has called for Cuomo to step down, but more importantly, Joe Biden, who is a longtime ally, decades of allyship between those two families, he has asked his friend to step down. The state assembly, run by Democrats, is moving to impeach Cuomo, and this would mean that Kathleen Hochul, the current lieutenant governor, will be the first woman governor of the state of New York, which is kind of shocking, given that state considers itself to be progressive. But I expect that we'll find that soon. I don't know how long Cuomo can hold on, but his political career is actually over. 11 allegations, some criminal complaints. Your career is over, sir. It is time to step aside. Moving now to our next headline, a new study finds that the vaccine hesitant are more worried about the vaccine than they are about COVID-19. 53% of unvaccinated people think the vaccine is actually more dangerous than COVID. Those people are wrong, but they shouldn't die because they're stupid or unable to process information, willingly ignorant at this point in time. I know there's been a lot of vaccine misinformation, but my goodness, there's also a lot of good vaccine information coming from every manner of public health official. Talk to your doctor. It's not really that difficult to get good, solid information about this with access to the internet's 24/7. But indeed, access to the internet's 24/7 is likely what's driving the misinformation. And it's a real shame that that stupidity or lack of media literacy is leading to death. And it's not just the death of the vaccine hesitant. It's the death of anyone who gets the Delta variant, even the vaccinated folks, in the spread of this so quickly. As we know, this is a global pandemic. So right at this present time in the United States, this is now a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The Delta variant is by and large almost 100% affecting the unvaccinated. In the state of Louisiana, we have seen a massive increase in folks who are getting vaccinated, mostly because we're seeing a massive increase in the number of cases. So Florida and Louisiana right now, both Republican states that have fought against masking mandates and fought against basic common sense in this pandemic, are now leading the nation. But Louisiana, especially 4,300 new cases per day. But demand for vaccines has quadrupled in recent weeks. Because their hospitals are overflowing and they have received just a logjam of misinformation from their public officials. Yes, leadership matters. And in this current day and age, Republicans, not all of them, but Republicans are far more likely to be pushing misinformation about the pandemic, which means that public leaders have blood on their hands. That's actually how this works. When you know that you have information and access and influence at your fingertips, and you fail to use it to do everything within your power to protect the lives of those in your care, you have blood on your hands, plain and simple. Even children's hospitals in Louisiana are packed. Intensive care units are packed. The Delta variant has doctors alarmed. They see patients in their 20s and 30s who are rapidly declining and dying. These are unvaccinated folks. This is not necessary. We have enough vaccines. We have enough vaccine ease of delivery systems in every state in the union. This happening right now in the first week of August of 2021 is totally unnecessary and totally unacceptable. Again, public leaders need to do their jobs. Last big headline, a little more bad news. The Greenland ice sheet had a massive melting event last week. A heat wave caused the polar portal run by British Danish research institutions to report that enough water melted to cover all of Florida with 2 inches of water. This is the third largest ice melt event since we've been measuring this, starting in 1950. When snow melts, it actually exposes the darker underlying ice, as well as soot, dust, and other dark particles that are typically trapped in it, to the sun. This melting can then deform the crystals underneath and actually lead to more melting. So this means that it's a chain reaction, right? The more big melting events we have, the more big melting events we will have. On a positive note, and I guess I should say this basic science, right? This is climate change. We are experiencing climate change. We had the hottest month on record in June in many parts of the United States. Globally, we are experiencing parts now of the world that are uninhabitable because of the increase in temperatures during the summer. This ice melt. This is about climate change. This is something that we not only saw coming, we knew about it publicly starting in the early 90s, so 30 years ago. But on a positive note, President Biden has signed an executive order calling for half of new car sales, that would be car and some truck sales, to be electric powered vehicles and fuel cells or plug-in hybrids by 2030. And he's bringing leaders from the major auto manufacturing companies and labor unions to the White House today to unveil the specifics of the plan. This is a big deal. Now, of course, these vehicle standards go back and forth depending upon which administration happens to be in office. So who knows, if we get a Republican administration in 2 years, all of this progress will be moot. But right now, at this moment in time, we have a victory for the environment with this new electric vehicle mandate. As you head out into the world or stay home during this global pandemic, please be gentle with yourself, be kind to others, and rock on.